Hello, everybody. Welcome to Studio 7. I'm Mercedes.
Matt, hello.
Hey, Matt. So I have a question, and I'm laughing because I already know in my mind.
Yeah.
Work-life balance.
What a
Is it a myth?
What a conversation.
I know.
While at work.
I know.
Gotta walk
I'm
on
like,
eggshells a little bit here.
I know.
Be careful what we say.
No, I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest.
I will
Is
too.
it a myth? It is. To me, it is a myth.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if you have kids involved.
Sure.
Or anyone that you love, because some folks don't have kids, but maybe they help take care of their parents or something like that. I absolutely do, and it's a constant juggle. And then with that in life, it's almost like a constant fear too of, am I leaning too far to this part as far as my family, where I'm going to get in trouble over here?
Yeah.
I don't think there really is a balance.
Do you feel like you've ever had it? Do you feel like over time it has evolved? Because I feel like I've tried to balance things out and it just really doesn't work.
I think there are times, and when I say times, I mean maybe a week where it balances because you're on vacation or something.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's the balance.
No, I get it.
But I think it kind of ebbs and flows, but it goes according to what's important for you at that time. When I was 18, I was working all the time.
Yeah.
It was not a big deal. But again, kids and life and
I think it depends on the career too. And I'm not saying that there's certain careers that are more important than other careers, because that would be ridiculous. But I feel like depending on the type of work that you do, like for me specifically, and this is probably not a healthy way to feel, but I always feel like there's probably somebody else who wants or could be coming for my job. And if I don't work hard, then it'll be taken from me. And then you start to get into the tailspin of, well, how do I support my family? How do I do what I want to do? How do I live the life that I want to live? And if I'm not prioritizing work on a day-to-day basis, then I won't be able to even have the balance that I currently have. And that's a very scary, slippery slope to
scary.
go down,
Yeah.
because I know that I should be more present. And I know that it shouldn't be something where I'm always doing work or I'm always paying attention to things. But when you work in a two-person department and you're the
Yeah.
sports director and
Yeah.
there's things happening, if it happens when I'm not here, guess what? I'm kind of called into work and I'm kind of working on stuff even when I'm at home.
Yeah, and I totally get that, and I agree with you. I'm thinking about like the work-life balance of folks. Like think during COVID, all of our first responders, there was no balance.
There was none. No.
There was zero balance, and and the families felt the pain of it, but they were needed. So it's kind of like they answered that call, but they were tired, man. At what expense? And for a long period of time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Every career, it's tricky to try and figure out what the balance looks like. I often wonder if there would be a benefit of having a job where if you worked a 9 to 5 or whatever your hours were and you left and you just didn't think about your job. And I just don't feel that way about this place. I
No.
don't feel that way about
No.
what I do.
No.
It always is something that I'm thinking about or I'm taking home with me or I'm letting bother me or affect me. And then you're not the best version of yourself when you're home.
Correct.
And then that's
Correct.
dangerous too, because like our daughter is so impressionable right now. She's 2 years old.
Yeah.
It's hard when I'm sitting on my phone and I'm checking emails and I'm making phone calls. It's not like this is happening all the time, every single day.
But enough to think about.
But enough that it has an impact, and enough
Yeah.
that, she walks around and holds the phone up to her ear and talks into
Yep,
it like she's
yep.
having a conversation on the phone. Now, she's talking to Minnie Mouse. My conversations aren't as exciting as Minnie Mouse.
I wish I could talk to Minnie Mouse.
That's what I mean. She
Yeah.
says, hi, Minnie. Hi, Minnie. So, yeah, but it's like she sees that.
Yeah.
She knows what's going on.
Do you think you'll ever get over the being afraid of someone taking your spot, being more hungry if you're not?
When I'm probably ready to retire or thinking about retiring,
Really?
because
that's a lot to carry
Yeah.
for a long period of time.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot.
And it's a problem too,
Yeah.
but it's the way that it is. I mean, we work in an industry where there's a lot of people who would do anything to be in this position, and I don't
Yeah.
take it lightly. I don't take it for granted, but I also don't want to be complacent, because then I feel like when
yeah.
you become complacent, then it'll be taken away from you.
But I mean, this is from the
And that's
outside
not healthy.
looking in.
That's not healthy.
It's not, but from the outside looking in, I can't see you becoming complacent because you love what you do.
Fair, and I appreciate that, but I feel like in order to thrive in the role that I'm in the role that a lot of people have, you have to make sacrifices.
You do. You absolutely do.
So that's where the balance becomes, it's tricky, because I always say sports happen when other people are available. So that's a tough thing to balance, because that means you are often working
Yeah.
when other people, like your family, aren't working
Yep.
and they're available.
Yep.
So for the rest of time, is it feasible to be working on Sundays and Monday nights and random Sabres games along the way
Yeah.
when your family is home? And if our daughter decides she wants to go into dance classes or
Yeah,
play
yeah,
soccer.
yep.
And you potentially miss that stuff. So that's where you try and figure out. And I'll say everybody here has been very, very understanding, especially as I've become a dad, because things change, priorities change. That is my number one priority. But I still prioritize work. And that's the thing that you try and figure out the balance of.
Yeah. I can honestly say that since the cancer diagnosis or the re-diagnosis, I look at things a lot differently, and it could just be the lens that I'm
I would
in
say I
right
would
now.
imagine your perspective changes pretty quickly.
Yeah, and so I only want to do the things that I have a passion for and that I love. So I love working here. So that's a vein. My family is,
Number one.
you
And
know what I
two,
mean?
and three.
Yeah, because I mean, it's unfortunately from my lens, I have to look at and work toward being around for my family. So it's like if I don't love it, then I can't do it, because then it's an unnecessary stress, and we know stress does not help your body.
For sure.
And so my spin is the things that really kept me under big stress, I have to remove myself from.
Did it take, though, as terrible as it sounds, a cancer or a re-cancer diagnosis to feel and find that perspective?
Yep, 100%. 100%, because I was burning the candle at both ends every day, all day. Every day. And now I've had to kind of, it's like a screeching halt at first.
And that's the thing that's scary, because you never know when that news is going to come. For it almost feels inevitable for everybody in some way, shape, or form, whether it's you or a loved one or somebody in your family, somebody who's tied, and you don't want it to get to that point. But it feels like the only way it can is if you get to that point.
Yeah, and it sucks because I'm like, it took that for me to not love my family, but slow down enough to make memories.
Yeah.
And so
This is deep.
it is.
This is-
It's too
this is
deep.
a deep
We got to take a
conversation.
break.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Studio 7. So we're talking about work-life balance.
And when
It
we
is a
went to
myth.
the commercial, I asked Mercedes a question. I said, I won't ask you this on camera.
No, you
And
absolutely
then you
can.
said, you can.
Yeah,
and,
you
and the question was, why do you work?
I work because, being honest, I've never been the type of person to sit and have idle hands. It's just not me. So what I did was, when I was diagnosed, and I chatted with management here, everything in life just came to a halt.
Sure.
And then it was picking and choosing what I want to do, what I can do. And I work because this is something I love to do, and it adds to my life.
Okay. That's a very refreshing thing to hear. And I think
Yeah.
a very mature way of looking at it. Do you feel like if you weren't working, you would be like wallowing? Do you feel like you would
Yes,
be like
absolutely.
a little bit of self-pity of like, why am I dealing with this? Why am I going through this? Is it
yes.
like a good distraction, basically?
It's a great distraction, and one of the things that I always want to produce, always do, is run after purpose, be in purpose. And I think this is a part of it. So it's fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where when you're sick or something like that, how people say positive thoughts, positive. I want positive things in my life. I want positive people in my life. So I literally, everything came to a halt for me. And I said, now what do I want to add?
Yeah.
So what adds to my life? And the things that don't, or the people that didn't,
you sure?
or I mean, I had to push those to the side and pick a few things.
Yeah. And what were the other things?
It was definitely having my family be, not that they weren't a priority, but we're running because I have 10 jobs. And so there were some relationships that kind of, I don't want to say pushed to the wayside, but
You didn't prioritize.
if it's,
That's fair.
Yeah. So prioritizing what needs to be, and then some relationships had to go.
Sure.
I'm going to just be honest.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a positive relationship, it's kind of like, you know what? I don't want that stress on my body.
Why am I fretting
I
for
can't
something
control
that
it.
I need to? Yeah.
Yep, I can't control it. So work-life balance, I think, goes with what we have going on in life. Now, I can't say the same thing wouldn't happen if I had a parent, once my parents got older, that needed my help, and say it wasn't cancer and they needed my help. I would have to reevaluate life then too. And so I think that's just where it is now. And this adds to me. This adds to the happiness in my life. So that's why I do it.
It's always impressive to me to hear the perspective and kind of the outlook just on life in general from people who have gone through something significant, especially people who have been sick, people who have overcome something or are continuing to deal with something. You've got friends along the way who have had cancer diagnosis, who have been in the hospital for long periods of time, and they come out of it, or sometimes you never even come out of it, but they leave with such a different outlook that I've always envied and admired, but it's hard to replicate it into your own life. I feel
there's
like
no way.
until
Yeah.
you've gone through something like that. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember, this is such a random example, but I remember when my dad was sick, I remember thinking, you know, just get him home, because my dad was really sick for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember for the last couple times he got sick, just thinking, just get him out of here. And, you know, I'm going to spend all the time in the world with him, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything that I can. And then, you know, he doesn't make it. And then you think back to how much more present you should have been. And I don't have any regrets about anything like that, because I feel like, especially at the end, I was incredibly present. But you always are thinking,
Yeah.
you know, if you just get him home, then we'll be able to spend more time together and all of these different things. And I feel like it shouldn't take something bad to happen to find that perspective, but that's
Yeah.
just reality of it.
It is. We get so busy with life, and we're like, we're always looking for the next thing, the next paycheck, or the next vacation, or the next.
Always on to the next thing.
Always on, and I'm guilty of it. Like
Uh-huh.
I can never stop to smell the roses, as people say. I'm just like, okay, that was great, done. Okay, on to the next, and I can't do that.
I'm not present at all. I think it might be legitimately the thing that I envy the most about other people is another person's ability to be present. I have a very hard time slowing down, actually taking in my surroundings, stopping to smell the roses with anything. I am always thinking about the next thing, even when it's things that I've looked forward to.
Yeah.
I have a hard time enjoying them because I'm either thinking about what
Yep.
could go wrong and
I'm
ruin
guilty.
them, or
I'm guilty.
what I need to do with X, Y, and Z. I could have something, I could have a vacation that I've thought about for months and months and months that I've looked forward to, and then it starts, and I'm already thinking about, oh, well, you got to do this flight when you get back, you got to work, you got to do this.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then you're
yeah.
always, it's such a weird way to live, and it's one that I wish I could change and alter. And that's something you work on,
Yeah.
but that's just the way that I'm wired.
Yeah, and you probably have a ton of great accomplishments that you never even stop to celebrate for. And I'm saying that because it's me.
Yeah.
Because it's me. And people are like, do you just, like, it takes somebody saying, do you not know how dope you are? Do you not know how cool you are? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
And then it kind of forces you to stop and be in the moment and go, I have been doing sports for this many years, and
yeah.
I've accomplished all this.
Yeah.
But we don't take the time to do it. Sometimes it takes somebody else in, this,
Yeah.
or a situation to make us see it.
You want to talk about a good problem to have? And I remember it was like a weird thing that I had to go through. But in July of 2019, in a span of three and a half weeks, I bought my first house, got married, and became sports director at Channel 7 with
That
the
is so-
honeymoon in between. And you want to talk about doing all of the things that people work to and strive
Yeah,
to
yeah.
all happening at one time, but it all mushed them together. Then when it was done, I was like, well, what happens now? Like I've got the house that I've
Yeah,
wanted. I've
yeah,
got the
yeah.
wife. I've got what am I going to do? Am I just going to do this for the rest of my life? What are you working to? And if
Yeah.
you don't have something that you're thinking about and working towards,
Yeah.
that's tricky. So then you alter your mind. You go, okay, I'm working towards being the best husband. I'm working towards fixing the house. I'm working towards continuing to get better at my job every single day. But if there's not one thing out there, then it feels like you're just always kind of chasing something that doesn't actually tangibly exist. And that's a very weird way of looking at life.
It is. But now that you have a daughter,
Well,
making memories. It's-
absolutely. That changes the perspective on things.
Yeah.
She's the best thing that could have ever happened to us. And the same thing with, I'm sure everybody feels the same way about their families and whatnot. It just, you could have the hardest day at work. You could have the most stressful day. You get home, hi, Dada. And I go,
That's
"Hi."
that's right now.
Yeah.
Wait until she gets older. She's like, what's for dinner?
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Do
Yeah.
you have some money?
Yeah. Oatmeal, steel cut oats,
Steel cut out.
scrambled eggs,
Yep.
vegetables. She's really easy to cook for right now.
Wait until it turns into a Big Mac and $100 to go shopping.
Yeah, we're not going to worry about that anytime soon.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Studio 7. So talking about family, balance, life balance.
This is deep. So,
you know what?
sometimes we talk about like BLT dip and the Grammys and like things that annoy us. People chewing too loud, and all of a sudden
I
we're talking
know.
about the meaning of life. Essentially,
I know. Is there anything?
I didn't think this is what I was doing when I woke up today.
Me neither. Me neither. Is there anything that you think when your daughter turns 15 or 16, or have you ever thought that far where you say, what do I want her to say about me? What do I want her to,
Wow.
when she thinks of dad?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna cry. I don't know. I want to be there for her. I want to be a good example. I want her to know that she always has the support of my wife and I, no matter what she does, what she wants to do, what obstacles she needs to overcome will always be in her corner.
Yeah.
I just want to be supportive. And more than anything, I want her to know how much we love her. And I think that that's something that evolves over time.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's healthy and it's important for someone to know that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I would imagine my parents would have said the same thing if they
Yeah.
were asking what they wanted me to know about them,
Yeah.
if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
any
yeah.
sense. So, yeah, I went through that without crying.
Good for you.
I was close, though.
Good for you.
I was close.
So
How do you feel?
I would say work backwards from that. If we work backwards from what we want our kids to say,
Mm-hmm.
then we're creating those memories even in a busy life.
Uh-huh.
I want my kids to say, they're not going to say my mom was cool because they will never think I'm cool.
Yeah.
But that she was there.
Yeah.
That she was there.
Just being there is the most important thing.
Yeah, and like she was so good at this or she was good at that, or mom could entertain her butt off, or mom, because
Mom can cook.
yes, but because my kids were the kids that whenever friends were coming over for sleepovers, it was at my house, and I always loved that, and those are the things that I wanted to do and be, and so I think I want them to say mom was there, like mom was down for us.
But how has that evolved as they've gotten older? And you've actually got a nice, interesting perspective too, because you've got the range between the
Oh,
kids.
yeah.
So you've got the older kids and the younger kids.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you approached the younger kids having the experience of the older kids?
You realize that you really can't control much. So
Yeah.
the older ones are like, they get away with everything. I'm like, no, like I was tough on you guys because I was learning. My son says it all the time. I think I was an experiment for you. I was like, you weren't an experiment. I mean, but you're
But
a
you
fabulous
were,
experiment.
But you were,
right?
yeah, the best experiment.
Yeah. But you know what? My son is not a super emotional young man. I get it for the birthdays and for Mother's Day, the cards
Yeah.
and the gifts where he says pretty much mom has been there.
Yeah.
Those are the moments where, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
My daughter, she expresses it. The 18-year-old expresses it a lot. The twins don't care. All
Yeah.
they care about is Five Below. So, and they're actually on the side of my husband right now where they're loving dad a little more. So they're hanging out with him a little more.
So that happens?
Oh, it absolutely
You
does.
see that
It
happen?
Absolutely. It happened with all my kids.
Well, it's interesting because we are going through not something similar. She gets excited for me, but she is inseparable with my wife. Mommy, 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 mommy. When something goes wrong, mommy, hold me. Mommy, hold me.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always kind of chalked it up to, well, it's her mom. She's almost 2. You know what I mean? Like, it makes sense.
Nope. They flip
Okay.
several times.
Yeah.
Several times before adulthood. And my son was all about his dad. And then his higher teen years,
Switched.
he flipped back.
Yeah.
Actually, not even higher teens. He's 22 now. I would say when he turned 20.
It's funny how, you only have the perspective of the relationship you had with your parents, and then eventually your kids. I have the perspective of the relationship that I had with my parents, and now my daughter. But it is funny how you could always kind of find the person who you were not closer to, but certain things you leaned on that person for. And I always wonder how it's going to play out with my wife and I. Who's going to be the good cop? Who's going to be the bad cop? Who's going to be the one that
and-
says yes? Who's going to be the one that's harder? Who's going to be the one that
And
can
kids
do
divide
this?
and conquer very well.
Oh, I know.
Very well.
Dude, our kid is manipulative, and she's not.
And she's so
and
cute,
she's not
though.
even 2. So the other day, I told her she could have a cheese stick if she finished her blueberries. So she's sitting on
Is that like a mozzarella stick?
yeah, just like a little like string cheese stick. So we're sitting. She's got this stool she stands on at the counter, and I'm working on stuff. And she's got a plate of blueberries, and I was like, "You can have a cheese stick if you finish your blueberries." And I'm looking at her, and she's eating them one by one, and then she takes like 6 of them, puts it in her hand, and she puts it behind her back. She's not even 2, and she goes, "All done, cheese stick." And I go, "You're not done.
Where's your hand? Kid?
They're in your hand." And she takes the hand and goes, "Daddy, cheese stick," and like starts to like look at me
Come
like,
on.
"Please." And I'm like, "Finish your
Did you give her?
blueberries."
You didn't give her the cheese stick?
She had to finish her blueberries. Now she threw a couple of them on the ground for our dog Harper,
So,
but
so you want to know why she goes to your wife? That right there.
because I say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that we do that. I want to make sure that not everything is yes. I feel like if you don't say no at times, that's a real quick way of getting a kid spoiled and
I
entitled.
agree.
So sometimes I don't mind being the bad one, but she's my daughter and she's our firstborn, so I feel like I'm probably going to get played like a fiddle at
Oh,
times,
absolutely.
and she's going to take advantage of me. But I do feel like just genuinely parenting, you
Yeah.
got to say no.
You do. And I say no a lot. Now, my older two are really good at hearing no. So I said it a lot to them.
Yeah.
The younger two are this generation is different.
Oh,
Their
I know.
generation is different, but the older two heard it a lot.
I always remember too when I would get in trouble in school, and it wasn't big trouble, but my parents would like come at me like, I can't believe you did that. And now it sounds like whenever a teacher or somebody at school says something about a kid, it's like attacking the teacher or the counselor or whatever.
I see
it
a
is.
lot of parents like that.
And that's nuts to me.
Across the board.
That is nuts.
Yep.
Like if the adult is saying that they're doing something, it felt like my parents would be like, what is wrong with you? To me. Not to the counselor, to the teacher. And now it's the other way around.
I have several stories of my aunt coming up to the school
Yeah.
when I used to skip study halls to go to lunch, and she would come up and say, "What is your problem?"
Yeah.
They're calling
with
me.
you.
She would come to me.
That's crazy.
What is your and I did it with my son.
Yeah.
I met him in the back of his classroom a couple of times.
Like, brought you into this world.
I'll take you
I'll
out.
take you out.
Yep.
A very deep episode of Studio 7 today.
It was. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye.